Welcome back to another episode of the Cap Rack. It is Thursday, August 20th. We have 14 MLB games today, 4 NBA games and 2 NHL games. Starting off with the MLB slate as usual, we have the Tampa Bay Rays and the New York Yankees. The Rays sitting at 16-9, Yankees sitting at 16-8. So it's a fight for the top of the AL East right now. John Curtis is going for the Rays, James Paxton for the Yankees. Curtis is 1-0 with a 2.84 ERA. He's pitched more than one inning in all 3 of his appearances this year, but never like an actual full-length starter. So the Rays are going to go with more of a bullpen game today. Paxton has been kind of fixing his velocity a little bit, getting it back up to what he's used to. He was sitting low 90s earlier in the year and really relies on his fastball a lot, so it was tough for him to get hitters out. But he's starting to get his velo back after having a back injury. So the Yankees are minus 143 on the money line. The total set at 9.5. I'm going to actually take the Yankees today to get a win against the Rays. They lost last night, but I'd like them to get back on track today, kind of in a bullpen game for the Rays. But yeah, that'll be the pick for that one. Then we have the Philadelphia Phillies and the Toronto Blue Jays. The first game, the doubleheader, this one's going to be 7 innings. Starts at 1 o'clock. We have Spencer Howard, Phillies' top pitching prospect, on the mound, making his second appearance of the year. He left his first start with I think it was a blister injury on his finger. Something just popped up randomly. He had to be taken out. Chase Anderson going for the Blue Jays. Chase is 0-0 with a 3 ERA. He's made 2 really good starts so far for the Blue Jays this year. He had a strained oblique, and he threw 3 innings in both starts, so he's not going to give crazy length, but it is what it is. Blue Jays are looking for pitching in the back end of their rotation to kind of go along with the veterans that they've plugged in there kind of as stopgaps as they rebuild their rotation for the future. But the line for this, we have the Blue Jays at minus 121, Phillies plus 104. I think the Phillies get this one done against the Blue Jays. I think the Phillies hit real well 2 nights ago against the Red Sox. So they put up about 13, 14 runs, maybe more, and beat the Red Sox. They lost yesterday 6-3. But I like them to get back on track today against the Blue Jays, who aren't really so much of a strong team. And the Phillies have been underperforming. So I think there's room for them to kind of start breaking out a little bit as long as they get some consistency from their back-end pitchers and their bullpen. So we're going to take the Phillies at plus 104 there. Then at 210, we have the Detroit Tigers and Spencer Turnbull against Lucas Giolito and the White Sox. Turnbull is 2-1 with a 2.78 ERA. He's been probably the best starter for Detroit in a rotation that contains Michael Fulmer, who had great stuff a couple of years ago, but hasn't really lived up to that whatsoever. Then moving on with Lucas Giolito, he's 1-2 with a 4.8 ERA. He's allowed 15 earned runs over 5 starts this season, so not terrible when you really kind of think about it in the big picture like that. But he's let up 8 runs in the first inning, so more than half of his earned runs so far has come early. So if he can kind of get through the first couple batters of the Detroit lineup, I think he's going to be able to cruise against Detroit today. The line is White Sox minus 177. I like that to maybe throw in a parlay. I wouldn't take it straight only because Giolito has struggled so far. So, yeah, I only would really recommend you throwing that in a parlay. I think the White Sox should get this done. They've been owning Detroit all year. But, yeah, that's the analysis there. Then moving on at 310, we have the Houston Astros with Christian Javier on the mound against German Marquez and the Rockies. Rockies are minus 132 on the money line, total set at 11.5. For this one, Christian Javier, 2-1 with a 2.9 ERA. Started out the season in the bullpen, but he's made 4 starts so far. He's been really, really good. Just adding another guy to that Astros bullpen as they try to retool, losing Verlander to injury, losing Garrett Cole to the Yankees. I feel like I mentioned that often, but that's the case. You got a guy like Christian Javier to go with like Framber Valdez and Zach Greinke and Brandon Bielak also, who's been pitching really well for them, and kind of the reason why that they've won close to, I think, 7 straight so far. But then moving on to Marquez, he's 2-3 with a 2.25 ERA. He's pitched 5 2/3 innings in each of his last 5 starts this year. He was charged with 3 runs on 9 hits and 6 innings against the Rangers in his last start, but he's holding opposing hitters to a 227 batting average in 2020. The line for this one, we have the Astros plus 114, the Rockies at minus 132. Kind of a toss-up for me. I think I'm probably going to just stay away from this altogether. Then for the second game of the doubleheader, it's projected to start around 5 o'clock. We have the Phillies with Vince Velasquez on the mound and Trent Thornton on the mound for the Blue Jays. The Phillies are minus 107, Blue Jays minus 109. Now, while I like to think the Blue Jays take both here, it's probably not going to be the case. I mean, it's rare that team wins both ends of the doubleheader, or to predict that is kind of hard, or which game they're going to win. But I like the Phillies in both games here. I already have the pick on Spencer Howard and the Phillies at 1 o'clock, and then at 5 o'clock, I think they should be able to beat the Blue Jays here because Trent Thornton is kind of a bullpen guy. He's been hurt. He had right elbow inflammation, but he was good in his one start this year so far. So I like the Phillies there to take this win in both games of the doubleheader. Then moving on to, I believe we have the Mets at 6:10 with Seth Lugo getting a start against Daniel Castano and the Marlins. The Mets are minus 167 on the money line. Lugo has been pitching out of the bullpen, mostly kind of in the later innings of the year. So I don't know how stretched out he is to the point where I don't know if I'm going to lay minus 167 on the Mets. I mean, they've been very inconsistent this year. Lugo's been one of their better bullpen guys. So, yeah, you take him out of the bullpen, you're going to have to rely on other guys there. And we know that they had bullpen struggles in the past couple of years and earlier this year. So I'm going to stay away from that game altogether. Then at 7:05, the Indians with Shane Bieber on the mound against Trevor Williams and the Pirates. The Indians are minus 275 favorites. The total set at 8. For this one, Shane Bieber, the best pitcher in the Indians rotation so far, 4-0 with a 1.3 ERA. He's nearly untouchable. And Trevor Williams, 1-3 with a 3.9 ERA, which is pretty respectable, I would have to say. But the Pirates sitting at 4-16. Their lineup just doesn't really score runs. Their bullpen blows up, and they're just not really a consistent baseball team whatsoever. The line's a little steep here. I think the Indians should easily take this, but I'd stay away in terms of betting. So moving on next, we have the Boston Red Sox and the Baltimore Orioles. Nate Eovaldi on the mound against Asher Wojciechowski. The Red Sox minus 140 on the money line. The total set at 10. I don't know. The Red Sox are not a good team. The Orioles are not a good team. And the Red Sox have their best pitcher on the mound today, but I'm going to stay away completely. This could go either way. I'm actually leaning a little bit towards the Orioles, but the fact that the Red Sox have Eovaldi on the mound, and he's probably, like I said, the best pitcher in the rotation. Not that he's an ace stacked up to other aces, but he is their best pitcher, and he has the ability to kind of show flashes of being able to actually pitch. So I'm going to stay away from this game. Scares me a little bit. If you want to put money on the underdog, I mean, I wouldn't tell you no. But moving on at 7:10, we have the Dodgers with Clayton Kershaw on the mound against Yusei Kikuchi and the Mariners. I had a play on the Dodgers last night at minus 1.5. They actually ended up losing the game 6-3. But Kershaw is backed by a minus 250 money line, 8 on the total. But he is 2-1 with a 2.65 ERA. Yusei Kikuchi 0-1 with a 5.28 ERA. The Dodgers should definitely take this one. If you want to throw the minus 250 in a parlay or something, but I think it's just way too much to throw straight on the Dodgers. So I'm going to move on to the next game with the Brewers with Brandon Woodruff on the mound against Jose Barrios and the Twins. The Twins are minus 115 on the money line. Brewers plus 100. Total set at 9. For this, we have Woodruff is 1-1 with a 3.16. Barrios 1-3 with a 5.92. He's trying to really figure it out. He's supposed to be the ace of this Twin staff, but hasn't necessarily been so far. It's been Kenta Maeda, who nearly had a no-hitter. I think he lost it in the 9th inning with no outs last time out. But Barrios is really struggling with command here, and the Brewers are really starting to pick it up. They were like 3-4 games under 500. Now they're at 500 at 11-11. But I'm going to stay away from this until Barrios figures it out. The Twins are the better team, but I don't trust the starting pitcher here. So at 8:10, we have the Rangers and Kyle Gibson, and visiting the Padres with Dinelson Lamet on the mound. Padres are minus 195 on the money line. Last night they won on a grand slam by Manny Machado. They just keep smacking grand slams. I think it was very poetic that Machado decided to go deep to win the game walk-off grand slam against the Texas Rangers after the whole Fernando Tatis fiasco. But for this one, the total set at 8.5. I don't really know what I want to kind of preach about this game. I mean, the Padres are definitely the better team. They're the hotter team, but this is a very steep line to lay here on the Padres. Lamet has been really good, 2-1 with a 1.59 ERA. But Kyle Gibson's been all right also at 1-2 with a 3.74 ERA. His only start in his career against the Padres was in 2017. He threw 6 scoreless innings in a 16-0 victory when he was with the Twins. But this Padres lineup is completely different than it was in 2017. Manny Machado is now here. I mean, honestly, I'm not even going to go through players because it's just a completely new look lineup. Fernando Tatis wasn't even in the league then. But I'm going to stay away from this. I think the Rangers have the ability to take this game, but I'm leaning more Padres, but the line is too big. So then next one, we have Sonny Gray and the Reds against Adam Wainwright and the Cardinals. The Reds are minus 143 on the money line. Sonny Gray has been absolutely amazing this year. He's 4-1 with a 2.05 ERA. He has a crazy streak of not letting up more than 6 hits in, I think it's like 35 plus appearances. So Wainwright has also been pretty good, 2-0 with a 1.64 ERA. He won the first game back after the Cardinals had their entire COVID layoff. It was 17 days to be specific, but he tossed 5 innings, allowed 1 run on 2 hits against the White Sox, which is a pretty respectable win. I would say the White Sox have a dangerous lineup there in Chicago, but I'm going to stay away from this also. It's going to be a pitcher's duel. It's going to be really, really hard to kind of figure out who's going to come through here with the win. Given the fact that the Cardinals are just kind of getting back into the swing of it, they just played 1 series against the Cubs after returning from their COVID layoff, and the Reds are even fresher off of a COVID layoff because had a couple games suspended due to a potential outbreak, but they should be okay. Probably one of the quicker teams to resume after having a positive test issue. Next, moving on, we have the Diamondbacks and the Athletics. Alex Young on the mound for the D-backs, Sean Manaea on the mound for the Athletics. The Athletics are minus 150 on the money line. The total is set at 8.5. Manaea has not been really good this year. He's 0-2 with a 7.65. Alex Young for the D-backs, 1-0 with a 3.86. It's kind of a spot start for the injured Madison Bumgarner. I'm leaning Athletics here only because Manaea has to get back on track at some point. I mean, he's a very good lefty arm for the A's. And the A's lineup is better than the D-backs for sure. I'm going to stay away, I think, only because, I don't know, the Manaea just needs to be trusted. There's not much more to say. I mean, you got to show consistency before we start betting on your starts. Not that they are tied to us by any means, but for me to be able to pick the Athletics in this spot at minus 150, I think I need to know that Manaea is back and has his control. So I'm going to move on to the last MLB game of the day. We have the Angels with Jose Suarez against Kevin Gausman and the San Francisco Giants. The Giants are actually minus 122 favorites here. The line is even. Both teams are not very good. I don't know much about Jose Suarez. He's making his season debut today, but he had a 7.1 ERA in 81 innings as a rookie last year, so not a great bit of stats to go off of there. Kevin Gausman's a veteran. He's 0-1 with a 4.2 ERA. He's just going to fill a spot in the rotation for the Giants this year. But in terms of betting, I'm staying away from that today. Then I'm going to move on to the NBA. We have the Heat and the Pacers. The Heat the game's at 1 o'clock today. We got the Heat at -4, minus 180 on the money line. There's 216 on the total. Miami won game 1 of this series. Again, go to Sam's blogs on capsonsports.com, Nick's blogs, Mano's blogs. Check out Courts in Session. The episode is dropping later today. But I guess as we move on, I'm going to cover the Thunder and the Rockets at 340. The Rockets are -2 on the money or on the spread, minus 134 on the money line. Then you have the total at 226.5. The Thunder, I believe, won game 1. Nope, Houston won game 1. Then moving on at 6 o'clock, we got the Magic and the Bucks. The Magic did win game 1. They beat the Bucks in stunning fashion. They got out to a quick lead early, and then they held it pretty much throughout the entire game and were able to take the win there. And then we have the Blazers and the Lakers. Oh, sorry, let me give you the spread here. Bucks again, -13, -1,000 on the money line. Total set at 227. I think the Bucks are going to blow them out here today, but moving on at 9:10, we got the Portland Trail Blazers and the Lakers. The Lakers are 6.5-point favorites. The Blazers won game 1 of this series. Dame is just absolutely on fire. I mean, I think taking the Blazers plus 6.5 here is probably a smart play. The Lakers are 1-8 in the bubble so far. But just for the rest of these lines on this game, we got 228 on the total, Lakers 278 on the money line, Blazers plus 225 on the money line. So that rounds out the NBA for today. Then we're going to move on to the NHL. 2 games, the Islanders and the Capitals. The series is 3-1. Islanders lead. We got the Islanders at minus 106 on the money line, the Capitals at minus 109. Total set at 5. Check out Sam's picks for these NHL ones. He's been doing a pretty good job with those. Then at 10:30 for the last game on the whole entire slate, we have the Dallas Stars and the Calgary Flames. Dallas leads 3-2 in the series. That game's at 10:30. Minus 129 in favor of the Stars on the money line. Total set at 5. So that pretty much rounds it up. I'm just going to go quickly through my picks. I got the Yankees money line minus 143, the Phillies money line plus 104 and minus 107 in both games of the doubleheader. And I'm also going to add in the Athletics minus 150. I know I said that I don't know if I trust Sean Manaea here, but I definitely do like that Athletics lineup against a guy making a spot start for the Diamondbacks. The A's are home. I think they'll be able to get it done here. But anyways, that is today's episode of the Cap Rack. It is Thursday, August 20th. And I'll see you tomorrow morning.